From the beginning of my life, I have been looking for your face, but today I have seen it. Today I have seen the charm, the beauty, the unfathomable grace of the face that I was looking for. My soul is screaming in ecstasy. Every fiber of my being is in love with you. My arrow of love has arrived at the target. I am in the house of mercy, and my heart is a place of prayer. Exactly a year ago, I was driving from Seattle to Sequim to attend a meeting. That meeting would change my life forever. My spiritual journey started in 2007 when I was parking at work. The last word on the radio I heard, key, and it strikingly just stuck in my consciousness. That was the beginning of my journey, my spiritual identity. It took me to the several teachers like Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle. I read their messages, I read their teaching, and every teacher prepared me to go to the next level or next teacher. And finally, I met one of the greatest teachers on the earth, Barbara Brodsky, and the entity called Aaron. Aaron really showed me what the love is all about and what is the separation and the relationship between us and the rest of the universe. Not knowing that Aaron was preparing me for my next journey or next teacher, Joshua.
He's a personage of 2,000 years ago, and he has very limited importance today as he's been reported to be this and that of people's belief systems. And the main thing is that over my lifetime, nearly 60 years now, I have more or less been very, very interested in finding more truth about myself. And in doing that, I've searched a lot of avenues of learning, different books, different teachers, and I always come back to his teachings 2,000 years ago.
The way I will explain Joshua is on the love. Um, the way I grew up in a spiritual atmosphere environment, and that actually helped me to recognize Joshua's love.
So when Joshua came, I felt a great warmth. I felt a great sadness and the joy of reuniting after a long time. First thing Joshua told me that he invited me there, and I totally believed it because there was no human involved during that invitation.
That's when I was introduced to her, and that made a very powerful impact in me because the voice changed, the energy changed. Her, and when I opened my eyes and looked, her eyes changed, and all I could feel was love, you know. But it's a different kind of love. I felt like I was home.
Judith, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, I'm a very ordinary person doing an extraordinary sort of thing. It's been going on for about 20 years now. And at first, I was very surprised. I didn't believe it. I did a lot of questioning. And now I feel very comfortable doing it, in that Jeshua's love carries forth through all of his messages and carries into the people who are around. Whatever they will ask, he always has the answer right ready. And I've had to laugh because I often say I'm glad I didn't have to answer that, but he always knows the right answer for the question.
And the big question, who is Yeshua?
Jeshua is the anglicized version of his name. 2,000 years ago, he was known as Yeshua. He was raised in a Jewish family, and his name was Yeshua. Jesus is the Greek form of his name, and Jeshua is the English version of it. So it's easier for us who have grown up in English speaking to call him Jeshua. But he always goes back to that wonderful joke about, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for dinner.
How and why did Jeshua contact you?
Oh, well, it was the most interesting process, because it was a process. I realized I was always interested in channeled material because I felt that there had to be something more than what we were experiencing. And I liked channeled books and the information. And so we had the experience with J.Z. Knight and Ramtha. We had the experience with John Mark Hammer meeting in our living room for over a year. And one of the evenings later on, Jeshua announced through John Mark that he would be taking questions in the second half of the session, and that Judith would come downstairs, down to the front, and he would answer questions through her. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, really? And so, uh, and he also said that Judith will say when the break is over and you'll come back after the break. And I thought, yeah, right, I'm going out the back door. But after the break was over, I went back to the session and I stood in the back of the room. And sure enough, he called for Judith to come down front. And I thought, oh, no way, I'm not going to do this. I can't do that. How can I even feel that I could be channeling all the ones that I had admired and looked up to? So I thought, no, that can't be. But my feet took me down front. And so I thought, okay, I'll stand here and I'll behave like I think I know what I'm doing. And people would ask questions, and Jeshua would give me in my mind the answer. And so I would just mouth what he had told me to say. I didn't realize, or I didn't believe, that I was channeling at that point. It felt like, well, yeah, the questions were just ordinary questions, I'm saying to myself. And I guess anybody would know the answers to those questions. Well, of course, that wasn't really true. And on Sunday mornings, we would have the chapel service. And then we had classes during the week. And Tom asked me, I was his wife, that if would I give the announcements about whatever classes were coming up in that week. And I said, oh, sure, I do the announcements. Well, I did that for a while. And then one morning, I got the feeling, well, I should really add something to the end of the dry announcements that would be more interesting for people. And so I would just walk down to the first row of chairs and I would share whatever I had read that week that seemed to pique my interest. And so I felt a flow of energy that was happening, but I didn't know what it was. It was very strange because it would be very strong as I was talking, and then at some point it would feel like a window shade went down in my mind, inside somewhere, and I would know that, okay, I'm finished. I can go sit down now. And I wondered, I kept questioning, what is this energy that I'm feeling? Because I had taught at the university level. I knew how it felt to lecture, to talk to people. But this was so different. It was like a flow of energy that happened. So this went on for a year and a half. And at Easter time, 1993, Jeshua announced who he was. He said that he wanted to tell the Easter story in his own words. And he announced that he had been speaking through me for some time, but that she thought she was doing it. And I'm thinking, who is this she? I'm right here. It's my voice. It's my mouth that's speaking. What is happening? And I didn't know. So from that time, you see, he was very, very patient, very easy with me in that year and a half where I thought I was doing it. And he kind of led me into a partnership that was easy. But I still didn't know that I was channeling. I still didn't believe. And I went with a lot of questioning because my role models were so different. With J.Z. Knight and Ramtha, with John Mark Hammer, he would he would speak in the King James Version. That's how I characterize the way he would talk. And here was this Jeshua talking through me in modern day idioms and just ordinary. So I questioned and I said, well, why, if you really are Jesus of the Bible, why don't you speak in the King James Version? And he said, well, you don't speak like that, do you? Well, no. He said, well, I'm not going to either. So, okay, we proceeded along. But it took me a while, a long while of questioning until I finally saw from the other people their healings, their reaction to what he was saying, that it convinced me that, and the questions that they asked that I couldn't answer, I thought something else is happening. It must be channeling.
Judith, can you tell us what is channeling?
I tell people it's like whitewater rafting, in that you hold on, you don't know where you're going. There's going to be a rapids, you're going to be this way, you're going to be that way with it. You hold on and you go with the flow, because that's how the energy feels. It's very strong energy and always moving forward and very loving.
What has convinced you that he is who he says he is?
Because of 20 years of seeing the healings that have happened, emotional healings where people have been going through crises in their life and wondering, how do I come through this? And in a very loving way, he speaks to them at the depth of their being that changes everything. I've seen physical healings where people would come to the meeting using a walker, using canes, sometimes being supported by other ones to get to the meeting. And after he talked with them, he didn't even have to touch them. But, well, he did touch them, but it was in a different way. They would leave that meeting walking with their own energy, their own mobility. So the emotional level, the physical level, and people just coming to the place with the tears running down their cheeks, feeling they had come home.
Tell us your version of the healing garden that Jeshua talks about.
About 20 years ago, Jeshua asked in a meeting of the group that was meeting then, he said, build me a healing garden. And we wondered what that was all about. Okay, we'll build him a garden somewhere, but a healing garden. Well, obviously it means more than just flowers, garden, that type of thing. And over the years, we've begun to realize that, first of all, it starts with a healing garden within ourselves, within our consciousness. This is what he truly meant, was build a consciousness that recognizes the healing once again. But it also doesn't hurt to have a physical place where people can feel healed, where there can be beauty, there can be nature. And that is coming about right now as we speak. There is property that is being purchased that is going to be a physical place where people can come and feel healed just by walking on the land, just by being with other ones who have the same outlook on life, people of like mind and like heart. So it starts first with building the consciousness of knowing that we are healed, that we can be healed, that whatever is going on in our life, whether it's physical or emotional, it can be healed with that change in understanding of the consciousness of a person.
How does Jeshua see the historical Jesus through this new lens?
He has to laugh at that. First of all, he speaks about the historical Jesus that we've made him into, and he looks at that with a wide tolerance, let's put it that way. He does talk about who he was, how he was 2,000 years ago. He was very much the loving person who understood his Christ nature, the divine nature of him. And he wants to put that across to people to understand our divinity, the understanding that we're much more than just the physical being or the emotional being. And so he talks to us of that lifetime. And he says that it's very much like the lifetime that you are living, that any of us are living, but with one difference. He knew his connection to the Father, Abba, as he has called him, the loving Father. And he's explained that it isn't just the Father, it's Father, Mother, God, Goddess, all that is, because he said he's been reminded by many people in this time that it's not just masculine. It's not just the Father, but it is the Mother as well. And to come to a place of understanding the allness of us. He's very personal in everything that he gives to us. That's why when he speaks with people and they bring to him their hurts, their worries, they open up to him. And he can be very personal in, I think, because of that lifetime and also the wisdom that he is. He can bring that personal touch that does the healing.
So, what do you feel when you're channeling?
The personal nature of when he goes around and he talks with people, oftentimes he will admire somebody's mustache, their beard. He'll go around, and there's one thing he loves to do with me that I do not like, but he does it anyway. He messes up my hair. He knows that I like to have my hair all in good place, okay? And so he lets my hair down, and he gets very, very personal. And we've collected his messages over the last 20 years into 6 volumes, and I'm working on the 7th volume right now, of bringing forth all of his teachings. We call them Jeshua, the personal Christ, because this is how he is. He's very personal, does not stand on formality. In fact, he doesn't sit, he walks around and he talks with people, because one of the first things he said to me was, go and be amongst the people. And he loves to be amongst the people.
Judith, would you like to invite Jeshua to join us now?
He says he's ready.
Does God exist? Why should we believe in God?
Beloved one, yes, God does exist. But God is not contained just as an entity. God is not a he, God is not a she, God is not even an it. God is allness. God is energy, as you understand the scientific part. God is all pervasive, all forever existing. Yes, he does exist. Yes, it does exist. Yes, God does exist. God is outpictured as love. Know you the expansiveness when you feel you are in love. When you meet someone and your heart opens and you feel, finally, I have met you. Finally, I know who you are. Finally, I can allow myself to be one with you. That is God. That is love. That is why I often explain the essence of God as love, because it is all pervasive, all expansive, forever and beyond the purpose and concept of time.
Who is Yeshua?
Beloved one, I am glad you asked that. First of all, the name Jeshua, that is something that is easier for you to pronounce, but in my lifetime, 2,000 years ago, I was known as Yeshua. I tried that out when I was coming back to speak with you and the other brothers and sisters, and they thought I was sneezing. Yeshua. And so they kept saying, bless you. And I thought, I am blessed. Why are you blessing me? So Jeshua is I suppose it is the English version of Yeshua. Jesus, many worship Jesus and they call me by that name. That is the Greek form of my name. But when you call me, always I come. Always I am with you. There is no other place that I can be except with you.
Why did you come back to Earth now?
Because I love you. Because there is nowhere else I can be. All is one. There is coming a time when you and the brothers and sisters and ones are going to awaken to the oneness that we are. The one holy child, the extension of the one creative principle, coming forth into manifest form to play, to adventure for a while. There is nowhere else that I can be except to be with you as the one that we are. That is truly a concept, because you see, the oneness that we are is divine. Now you have all kinds of definitions of divinity, but I use it in the context of being the energy that is creative and always going forth, going forward from any point in time, any point in a concept even. And spirit is that outflow of the energy that works through you. It is your divine nature. That is to conceptualize it, that is to contain it a bit, but it cannot be contained. That is most wonderful, because that is what the brothers and sisters share with each other. There is what you would see as a melting pot of beliefs, from the place of what you call the pessimist that believes in everything is all wrong and it is going to a very hot place, to the ones who say, no, everything is ascending and getting better. And the collective consciousness is somewhere in the middle of that, not always at the high point and not always at the low point, somewhere in between. The collective consciousness is becoming more and more aware. The collective consciousness is desiring to know its oneness and to come into a place of healing, a place of recognizing its wholeness. That is truly what healing is, coming to the place of recognizing the wholeness that has been from before time began.
What would you say to those who are still skeptical about Jeshua?
I would say to them that I love them. It does not matter if they believe in me or not. Do they believe in love? Yes. Everyone is seeking for love. There is a very deep-seated longing to know love. So I would say it does not matter if ones believe in one Yeshua, bless me, or in one Jeshua, or one Jesus, but to believe in love, to know that truly this is what you are seeking, to know that truly that which you seek you will find, because your true nature is love. And in that true nature, I am one with you.
Why is there so much suffering in this world?
Truly, ones are creative. Ones are the extension of the one creative principle. God, Goddess, all that is, as we explained earlier. And ones in their creative nature, they want to experience everything. And this means that which is not like love. In order, they say, in order to know love, I want to know all that which is not like love. And so then they create for themselves hatred, anger, animosity towards one another, suffering, guilt, all of the emotions, the human emotions, so that they can be complete with them. So you see, one's doing a vast amount of completion in this day and time. Ones who are saying, I'm not quite sure of the intensity of my creative ability. I want to know. And so they create that which is not love and not loving. But at some point in time, they will come to the place of saying, enough, I am complete. I do not need to suffer any longer. And in truth, they do not need to suffer at all. But, as I have said, being a planet of the free will, being a place where ones are outpicturing the creative ability of the one creator, they will experience and create for themselves everything. In a very loose fashion. There is not exactly what you would see as a close correlation or a close understanding, but that is part of the awakening that is happening, where ones will begin to understand that they are not separate from all that is, and that they have a role to play in accepting and ascending.
How can we bring peace into our lives?
By focusing upon peace. Peace is always all around you, everywhere. It takes only the willingness to stand back from whatever is going on, to take the deep breath that I so often remind ones to take, and to come again unto the place of peace within. And then you will see peace outpictured out in the interrelationships with other ones. First of all, you release the focus upon whatever seems to be upsetting. You take the deep breath, and if one doesn't work, you take another one and another one until finally the body is able to relax. And then it feels so good, you often choose to abide there for a while. First of all, Holy Mother Earth is a co-creation with the brothers and sisters, you, each one as you seem to outpicture the individuality, and the light that has coalesced into a denser form so that you can walk upon her in a co-creation for a time to experience, to play, as we have already spoken. Mother Earth is very forgiving. As you have seen these seasons, she changes, she shifts and changes, brings forth new life. You see the trees, you see the flowers that come in their season as they grow, and the buds of the roses and the flowers that come forth in their season. She is very forgiving. You will make a mess of something, and then you come back a decade later, and it is all overgrown in the growth of nature, as you call it. She is very forgiving. You are very forgiving because it is a co-creation of energy. Is global warming happening? Yes, it is part of a trend that you have said that you have a certain cycle. Now, some of these cycles seem to be so long that you don't really, in one lifetime, you cannot really measure it. And you are into a cycle such as that. It has been called the global warming, and ones have pointed fingers here and there and everywhere and said, this is the cause of it, this is the cause of it. But know you, the wise man who looks at the pointed finger and says, okay, I have two fingers perhaps pointing forward, but what about these three pointing back? There is much that is happening, but it all aids in the awakening of understanding creative process. Before you felt yourself to be contained in a body form such as this, you knew life on other planets in this solar system and in many other solar systems. The stars that you see in your heavens in the evening and the nighttime, every one of them has the planets that are around them. You don't see them because you see the brightness of the sun star that it is. But you have known existence. You have known how to live in other form. Was not always, in fact, hardly ever, the human form. This form would not last very long on some of your planets that have the higher heat or the lower heat, the freezing level that you would say, that does not feel good, and you would turn into a pillar of the frozen. But, beloved one, yes, as intelligence you have lived everywhere and every when, and it is an adventure. You have come, meantime, into a small slice of what you call time, a small slice of existence, to play with each other. And I would remind ones to play, because truly this is a playground. Your Holy Mother Earth is a playground. It is getting a bit junked up and a bit dirty from time to time, but it is a playground.
What is the purpose of life?
Yes, your purpose is truly to recognize that you are the divine energy creating, coming forth, to play, to interact with each other. Why do you see brothers and sisters? Well, you say, well, I have to defend myself against them, even down to judgment. I don't like judgment. I don't even want ones having a bad thought about me. And heaven forbid that they would take the sword across the throat, which has happened in many of your lifetimes. But you want to play. You want to come to a place of love, a place where you can feel as the innocent child once again, and to know that you are the child, the divine child, creating, experiencing, learning from the experiences to go forth in a harmonious manner, to play. Yes. This is a most wonderful project that is coming forth. It is the physical manifestation of what is going on in the collective consciousness, the consciousness that recognizes that I am much more than just the human form, much more than just the emotions that I have and the emotions that get ticked off from time to time. I am much more than all of that, and I want to know my wholeness. I want to know healing in its true identity, its true experience. I want to know it at a very deep level. So it is truly, first and foremost, an awakening, a consciousness that is awakening to its allness, to its wholeness, and coming what you would call full circle from the point where we have known our divinity to the place where we come back and we say, I have experienced everything. I am now back to knowing my allness, my wholeness. So it is a consciousness, an awakening, but it is, in your terminology, something that can be physical. It can be a place or many places where one's come alive and knowing the peace of nature, the peace of being just in quietness, in meditation, in oneness with each other, a place where you can walk amongst the trees and you can feel the energy of the trees speaking to you. You can breathe of the aroma of the rose and know that that is its gift to you. And you can come to the place of recognizing, I am the creative spirit that brings all of this to life. I am seemingly separate, and yet I am not separate. It is a gift of life. So there will be many healing places where one can go and walk the land and be in concert with all of nature, with the flowing water, with the growing of the trees, all of nature, and to come once again the full circle back to knowing wholeness, knowing healing. For truly healing has come forth out of the word and the understanding of wholeness, oneness, the divine nature of the one holy child, the one holy extension of the one creative force, otherwise known as love. See, I put it into a nutshell for you, otherwise known as love. So be it.